This is almost as far west as you can travel in New South Wales. A place where the working day begins well before daybreak.
It's good to have mornings like this.
Yeah, but I like what I do, it's good. I've always wanted to do it, so here I am now.
It's hot and dusty. The temperature's forecast to climb past 40 degrees. But for Tricia Parker and Jake Smythe, there's plenty to like about working with goats.
Oh, they're just easy to load, like easy to handle, I reckon, at times, but they can be a pain in the ass, but you just gotta make do.
This depot receives wild goats from across the far west, contributing to an industry worth $365 million in 2024. According to the Goat Industry Council, about 90% of the goat meat processed in Australia comes from goats, just like these.
Yeah, fresh out of the hills like that, they've probably never seen a person, lots of them.
A couple of hours drive east at Waterbag Station, father and daughter Terry and Annabelle Smith are emptying a goat trap.
They've come out of the hills here, so they're rangeland goats, they're wild here in the hills. They go then from abattoirs to the Middle East and to America as part of our exports.
It's a good trap, it's nice and shady for this time of the year. It's just a dirt ramp. The goats will come and walk up the dirt ramp and jump over and go and get a drink.
This trap is set 3 or 4 times during the summer, and over the course of a week will capture about 2,000 goats.
It's a good way to control your animals.
The Smiths predominantly run sheep, but rangeland goats are a big part of the family's business.
They're an introduced pest. Their numbers breed up really quickly, and in this country where we are, in this hill country especially, they're reasonably hard to muster out of there in a traditional way with motorbikes or dogs or aircraft, so we use the water trap that you can sort of see behind me here.
Harvested rangeland goats must be captured from a wild state. They can't be kept in a paddock. They can't be born as a result of managed breeding programs and must not be subject to any animal husbandry or treatment.
Just while I'm talking to you, there's about, would that be 50 goats just walking up now to you?
Yeah, probably 50 or 60 goats, so they'll come in. There's another probably 80 over there on the side of the hill coming in. So about now's when they come in for a drink. That's why I got you guys out here nice and early. So we'll run these on the truck and get out of the way, and they'll come in and hopefully get caught in the trap, and then we'll come back tomorrow and truck them out too. So we might have another 300 or 400 goats here in the morning.
Last year, Australia produced a record 54,000 tonnes of goat meat, 60% more than the previous high from 2014. More than half was exported to the US. But record volumes doesn't mean record prices.
It's sort of dropped by about 4/5, I guess. Yeah, so it's a fifth of what it was, 3 to 4 years ago, which was really lucrative.
I get the feeling you'd rather just be running Dorpers.
Well, yeah, I guess when your goats are worth $30 to $50 and a Dorper's worth $130 to $150, well, I'd much rather be selling Dorpers than selling goats.
The cost of producing both species is in hyper-focus as new requirements to tag sheep and goats with electronic identification are phased in from January 1st this year. The decision to mandate was made following the spread of foot and mouth disease in Indonesia.
Thanks for being
Kyle Wafena from the New South Wales Department of Primary Industries says EID tags will allow stock to be traced much faster than visual tags.
So within 24 hours using the EID system, we were actually able to trace 98% of the livestock or sheep in that exercise, compared to a visual tag system where we were able to only trace 72% within that 24-hour period. That doesn't mean that we weren't able to trace all the animals using the mob-based system, but it took them nearly 6 months to be able to get down to an acceptable level in the event of an emergency to be able to trace those animals.
Getting to the crux of it, what is an EID? It's a 16-digit number, a unique number, which is put into a tag
Information days hosted by the department are an opportunity to explain the changes.
I'm here because I don't know a lot about it. I don't want to bury my head in the sand like a lot of people are doing and be totally negative, but I mean, to me, it's just another cost.
Good livestock traceability is always a good idea, but the model that has been adopted is deeply flawed in terms of choosing the wrong technology and not allowing reasonable exemptions.
Discussing the merits of the policy is off limits.
We won't talk about vegans, rugby, national parks, EID policy. We were not talking about that today. We're here just to work with what we've got and help you guys moving forward. It's
because we are the largest sheep and goat producing state in the nation. We're quite aware of the impost that it's going to have, so we don't have a requirement for all sheep and goats to be tagged until 2027.
What is that impost?
Basically, time in relation to having to attach the devices, but also there is a cost, obviously a price difference or a price point difference in relation to the EID device and the visual tag. As part of that, the New South Wales government has provided a subsidy to New South Wales producers of a 76-cent discount for producers to be able to purchase tags for the next 12 months.
She says in New South Wales, the year-long subsidy should see the cost of an electronic tag fall from more than $2 to between 80 cents and $1.50 each. That's up from about 35 cents for a visual tag. The policy has infuriated pastoralist Lachlan Gall.
It's been rushed and it's been flawed, and the cost of the whole program being more than $1 billion over 10 years, with producers expected to pay the lion's share of that, is a bit rough.
His figures build on assumptions from a government-commissioned report that showed national adoption of EID for sheep and goats would cost more than $800 million over a decade. For his business, Lachlan Gall expects the new policy will cost $10,000 a year.
Yes, I guess it's an easy concept to sell if you're sitting in an air-conditioned office somewhere remote from where we're producing these animals, and you're not paying for it. The people out in the bush are paying for it.
Can I have your ear for an ear tag, please?
But it's unlikely he'll have to tag goats harvested from his station.
Thanks to a very robust meeting between the New South Wales Agriculture Minister at the time and producers in Bourke in December 2022. The robust feedback from the producers was taken on board, and a common sense exemption from mandatory tagging for rangeland goats was subsequently announced by the Minister.
For the exemption to apply, pastoralists must be accredited under the Livestock Production Assurance Scheme, and the goats must be transported direct to slaughter or an accredited depot. But at depots like John Blaw's at Belmont Station, the exemption only applies for the first 10 days.
So if they're here for longer than 10 days, if they're here for 12 days, it means we've got to put a $2 EIS tag in them. So we've had to limit what can come into the depot, whereas normally clients would ring up and say, we've got these goats, can we send them in? You know, everyone might want to trap at the same time because of weather conditions, that sort of thing. We can't just take them and hold them and paddock them, you know, when you've got to put a $2 tag in them.
He says about half of rangeland goats go to slaughter via depots, allowing producers to pool numbers, trapping and mustering to meet the seasonal conditions. In February, Australia set a record for the most goat meat exported in a month, a sign dry conditions are increasing pressure to get goats through the meatworks.
The number of people that are wanting to offload goats compared to the number of spots for kill space is, it's not matching up. So at the moment, because it's drying off and there's a bit of an oversupply, there's a lot of people that can't offload as much as they want.
So what did you think when you learned of the new rules and regulations?
I thought it was going to be very expensive, for no gain whatsoever in terms of biosecurity advantages, because all the goats that come here anyway are mixed mobs, so the tag that's going in them is all my pick number. Traditionally, depots have probably worked on a $3 or $4 head margin, by, minus cost and sell price, so $2 is 50% of that. But previously, if yes, it was unusual for goats to be in a depot longer than 10 days previously, because you'd normally find kill space for them somewhere. But if you had to put a 30-cent tag in them, it wasn't so bad as a $2 tag.
He'd like to see depots exempt from having to use an electronic tag in goats for up to 21 days.
It'd make things more manageable, so when someone's run out of water, they can get rid of those goats and have the depots have more time to get rid of them.
Kiowa Fenner says the new rules are in place to help the industry.
Basically, this process or program is ultimately for the producer in the end. So if they can't access their markets, if they're locked out of their markets, they have no income. So I suppose it's really important for us to remember that this is about the entire sheep and goat industry.
For some, though, that message has missed its mark and they're not happy with how it's been communicated.
In a word, piss weak. No, it's been terrible. It really, they basically told us what they were going to do. They came out and had a bit of consultation, and during that consultation, thankfully, that they changed their stand on harvested rangeland goats. So, 3 cheers for that. There was a bit of, but other than that, the rollout, we had a day in Broken Hill yesterday, which was probably middle of the road as far as communication goes. But that's the first real communication we've had. The system's already in play. There's been a huge amount of teething problems.
Terry Smith, who chairs the Pastoralists Association of West Darling, says frustrated farmers don't see how the extra cost improves traceability.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, for a lot of what we do, whether it's our goats or our lambs that go direct to slaughter, there's absolutely no traceability gain there whatsoever, because we'll send a B-double load lambs, they leave here and they go to the abattoirs. And that, if you can't trace that, well, there's something wrong with you.
And if producers muster or trap goats too small to load, they face a difficult task.
Now that the new rules, that they should be, they'll get an ear tag and released into a paddock until they're big enough to go on a truck. Otherwise, some people are just culling them, so they end up getting shot.
He says farmers are confused about what's required and concerned about adding to their workload.
I don't really know that many people that are through with it. Certainly, there are people that use electronic tags. I use electronic tags to myself, but it shouldn't be just forced on the industry to do that if they don't want to do it. I mean, a lot of people they're not probably going to use the technology. They're just going to have to pay more money for their tags, and no one really wants to do that.
With the truck loaded, Jake Smythe is back in his Crocs and ready to take this load to Victoria for processing. He's convinced this country is better off when the goats are removed.
Well, you look at, you drive along the road, just a Barry Highway, and you look at the paddock, and there's just nothing. Absolutely nothing. And all the trees are all trimmed up, all pruned. That's goats. Too many goats. So they just bugger the country.